Hello, my name is Shalina Virgie. Welcome to Quilting Color.
I made this beautiful red and white quilt earlier this year that I call Ruby Buttons. So here are the leftovers from my Ruby Buttons quilt. There's just a whole bunch of strips. That alternate the red and the white with each other. Normally what I can do is just put them in my orphan box so that I can use them for some other quilt. But there's so many here that I was thinking that maybe it would be a better idea for me to just go ahead and make something now out of these. And I think I can just sew these together to each other. Put these down here so you can see them better. I think I could just join them together to make a checkerboard quilt. So you can see I have a whole bunch of them. And I also have this one that's left over. It doesn't really quite fit. There's only one, so it won't be able to go next to each other. So one thought that I had was I could put it just on top like this. And because I had this extra little strip set also from the Ruby Buttons quilt, this was just a little strip that I had cut. This is a little extra strip that I had cut wrong. And so I thought I could do is just make this, cut this here. Put it here. I'll make it the same size as this. It can look either like a present or a bottle. And this to me kind of looks like a perfume bottle or some kind of bottle. And I can just put the white on the back here to fill. I can just put white here to fill this up. So this really looks fun to me to make a little bottle type thing. I'll get another red and white quilt out of this process, and I'll be able to use these up without having to worry about what to do with them. They probably would also look good in an orphan block quilt, but I really like the idea of being able to use up leftovers of a quilt as quickly as possible so that there's not a lot of storage that I have to worry about putting things away. I just like the idea of making these small projects as quickly as I think of them. While I have the idea in my head, I might as well just go ahead and implement it. So today I'm going to be sewing these pieces together to make this red and white quilt. I'm thinking about this idea. What is that quote? When life gives you scrap, make perfume. Isn't that how that quote goes? So that's what I'll do here is I'll just go ahead and make this jar. I might just have a bonus quilt out of this Ruby Buttons quilt. So I'll just meet you at the sewing machine. I hope that you get a chance to sew along with me today so you can enter to win prizes. Stay tuned for the secret word of the day. Okay, so here are my strip sets sewn together. I did have a problem when I was sewing these together in that I did not use a proper 1/4 inch. And so these may not match exactly correctly, but I'm fine with that. But to me, as I'm looking at it here, it looks like it's pretty good. It's not exactly perfect. There's some problems here where the seams don't match each other very well, but I'm fine with that. I think the eye is still going to keep looking for that checkerboard pattern, and it's not going to be a problem at all. I also had problems with the pressing. Well, I didn't have problems with the pressing. I also had a different decision about the pressing in that I was not, in one of the strip sets, I did press everything in one direction. In another strip set, I pressed towards the dark colors. And so I did have to adjust for that when I was sewing. I did try to change them around so that they are pressing towards the dark while I was sewing, just to make sure that the seams could nest. But because I was not consistent with my 1/4 inch seam allowance, I knew that they would not always nest properly. So this will go this way. Oops. Did that one wrong in both directions. So this will go this way. And I guess I should have sewed it the different direction here. I thought it would work either way. Interesting. Okay. So I'm gonna have to change the way I sewed these together. I'm gonna have to sew on this side instead of this side to make them work better. And then here's my little tiny cap. And I can just trim this down. I can just do it with scissors, I think, so that it's nice and square. And what I'm going to do is to just sew some white strips to the end to make it match this. Basically just I'm going to sew some white strips here, and I'll just make them big enough that I can just trim them down to the size that I need so that I can have this for the top. Okay, so we have a game plan. I can sew these two to each other. I need to fix this one, and I can sew the strips for this side. I'm back from sewing. I sewed these pairs together. Again, the points are not exactly matching, but I think it's close enough. The world did not end, and it'll still have that checkerboard effect that we're looking for. And I actually like the little fact that they don't match, kind of makes the quilt a little bit more quirky than it would be otherwise. I did unsew the part that was a problem, and then I sewed together the other side so that now I'll be able to join these together without any problem. And I've also sewn the sides to this section, so I'm just going to trim these down to match. I have to trim down here and also this way so that they'll match this, and then I can just add it to the top here, like add it here to this. Once it's trimmed, I'll be able to easily add it over here. Okay, so the first step is to press everything. Now that we've sewn them, I think I'm going to go ahead and press this towards the dark. I'll press this either direction. I don't think it doesn't matter for this one. Trying to decide whether this quilt is going to need a border, but I can at least get the perfume bottle finished before I decide on that. I think I'm going to press this as well. I did have some problems when I was ripping out these seams. They were really close, so I did wind up having to resew some of the seams that I had popped open while I was trying to rip these out. I think it's fine now. This one isn't, I'll have to resew this one, but the rest of them I did sew again just to make sure that the seam was right. It's okay. I'll go ahead and sew this one again, and then in the meantime I can go ahead and sew these two to each other. This part is kind of off here.
It's the shortest day and the longest night of the year. The word of the day is solstice.
Okay, here on the cutting board I have the strip set here that I just need to trim down, and I think I'm just going to go ahead and just trim down this side and then leave. I'm not going to worry about the widths here because I can just trim that down once I sew it up to the quilt. So, I'm just lining this up to the end here because it looks like it's not going to line up to an even number, which is fine. I'm not really worried about the math here because it's kind of improbably made. Because you can see I'm ending here at an eighth, at 7/8 instead of a 1, but that's fine. Again, I probably have a bigger seam allowance than I should here. Okay, so now I can go ahead and sew this section here this way, and this makes sense to me with the red matching this side, and then I can just go ahead and trim off the edges when I'm done with the sewing. Just trying to see what it's going to look like with the binding. I think it does need a border. It just looks to me like it needs something to separate it so that it looks like one solid object as a whole. I don't know, is it white that's going to be enough? Not. So if I had, say, a border like this, and then the red would go outside it. Yeah, I think it looks better with the border. So I'll trim off these pieces here, and then I'll cut some fabric for the border. I just grabbed this gray fabric at random, but I think this gray fabric would look okay with it. I don't know if that takes away from the red and white aspect of it or not. I don't think it does. Because I would need a different color that's just slightly different so that it separates this part of it from the rest of, from the background. So that the perfume bottle looks like its own entity. I think that it would need a different kind of fabric, a different color fabric. And I guess I could use like a solid red or something like that. But I think this gray fabric is close enough, and I think I'll still be a red and white quilt at the end because gray doesn't really count, I don't think. And it's a light gray. I think I should be able to get enough strips out of here to be able to go around a border strip because I only need two, one for each, the top and the bottom, and a small segment for the sides. Okay, so I'll trim this, cut some border fabric for this, and trim this up so that we can make more progress on this quilt.
Some people call this a generations quilt when one quilt has a baby. I hope that you enjoyed watching me make progress on this baby. I also hope that you got a chance to sew along with me, and if you did, make sure you let me know what you worked on today so you can get an entry in the drawing. Another way for you to get an entry is to use the secret word for the day. 2 winners will win a copy of the quilt journal and some other goodies. Thank you for watching. I appreciate all of your support, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.